Well, hello, YouTube. It has been a minute since I've made a video. I definitely haven't made a lot of videos over the last year, as I took a hiatus on purpose. It is the beginning of 2023, and all I have to say is I am so happy that my Pluto square has ceased. I've been through probably 15 Pluto transits in my life, and that's up there. That's like the top three, some of the most painful transits to go through. And I did do a lot of discussion with my peers to gain some insight as to what they went through, because this is a generational transit that everyone goes through between the age of 37 and like say 42. It will very much depend on the natal position and whether or not it was like in full retrograde motion, or if it was stationary, if it was direct, depending on how far ahead or behind it was at the time of your birth, will depend on if you experience it a little earlier or a little later. But this is really just like the beginning of that whole midlife crisis theme, because Pluto is death. And 9 times out of 10, we're not experiencing the death of a loved one. We're experiencing the death of ourselves. We're experiencing the death of our belief systems, our identities, our ego, and it's rough. And I knew going in kind of the flavor and the themes of what I'm going to be dealing with, because it's 4th house of family, home, history, roots, and 7th house of partnership, family, or not family, partnership, one-to-one relationships. And so this particular transit, when Pluto makes that first square, it starts to bring up questions about how we built up our life. Like, we have a certain framework that we're operating from as a child, and then we build up a life around that framework. So for example, like if we are heavily traumatized as a child, then we are going to build a life that essentially allows us to never revisit that trauma, right? So in my case, it was, I can't rely on anybody, so I'm going to have to rely on myself, driving me to a place of hyper independence, only to realize that it didn't work. That it just left me on my own island going, okay, that pain that I was trying to avoid didn't happen, right? So I got to confront all of that. And I knew that like intellectually, but then during a Pluto transit, because Pluto is going to put pressure on that astral body, we are going to now have the visceral experience of what it means to confront these things. And the thing that I just found so, like, the takeaway with this Pluto transit for me, especially after talking to my peers, was really and truly, and I think this is why midlife crisis is so challenging, is because there's no solution, right? We're just driven to try to numb or distract ourselves from what we're feeling, but the reality is there is no fix or solution. We just have to endure it. And whether you got what you wanted by the time this transit hit, or you didn't get what you wanted by this transit hitting, is completely irrelevant to you going, how did I get here? And I thought I wanted this. Why is it not what I thought it would be? And so there's a lot of like truth bombs that come out at this time where you're just like, this is not what I thought it would be. Now, the takeaway and the power that came, at least for me as a result, was recognizing that, because I'm not married and I don't have kids, I had always kind of thought in the back of my mind like that, if that would happen, it would absolve me of what I'm experiencing right now. Like, that would be the thing to essentially heal this wound and take me out of this position. And yet it actually brought me more in touch with my, like I said, my peers and people around me who were in that boat, only to realize there's no like saving grace in having chosen that as a life experience. It's just another life experience. It comes with its own pains and pressures and obligations and stresses. And while it does like everything has a cost and a benefit to it, having had that life path fall in my lap prior wouldn't have taken me out of the position of pain that I'm in now. Because I watched my peers who are married with kids who did want that. And they were like, oh, I just want to escape my life. Love my kids. Like, I love my kids, but I really hate my life. And so it does. It drives you to this pain point. And again, for me, that big takeaway was that there's no solution to moving out of our pain as much as it just needs to be endured. Because how is it that like we could all have made radically different life choices only to end up in the exact same place? Obviously, what I chose wasn't better than what they chose and vice versa, because we all ended up in a crisis moment realizing that it didn't fix anything. Didn't fix anything. It didn't stop us from realizing that like we drove ourselves to this in an effort to try to create a life that we thought would actually absolve us of pain that we are now sitting in. Didn't work. So for me, that was like the really big takeaway. And this only really contributes, I'm looking forward to going back to work mode. I am taking on clients. I'm really excited to work with people moving forward. I feel ready. I feel more emotionally available now that I've kind of been through this space. And like, again, it's not because there's a solution to everything, because I don't believe there is a solution to everything, as much as some things just need to be endured. And that's a huge takeaway, especially again, an identity, a belief system, that if we could just get to the core of it and fix it, it'd be okay. And to have that shattered and to know that no, it's not fixable. It just needs to be experienced and endured. That's a completely different paradigm. And I'm not saying that like some things aren't fixable. I think many things are relieved as a result of solution. But I now understand that not all things are relieved as a result of solution. Some things are what they are, and we just have to be in them. And so, like, one of my girlfriends said to me, she goes, do you think now that this transit is moving off, do you think my family will be less demanding? And I said, actually, I don't. I don't think they're going to be any less demanding. But I do think your capacity to show up in a motivated way will increase, because you're not being hit over the head with, look at the life that you created. Did it bring you the peace you were looking for? Did it bring you the resolve that you were looking for? Did it fix those things that you thought you could run away from? Now that we know the answer to all those things, we can move forward a little bit more clear-minded, a little bit more honest, saying, okay, so this is what I created for myself, and the reality is X, Y, and Z, right? And for me as well, like I can honestly say, like in every cell in my body, that like I've made peace with my reality. I don't really have an agenda anymore. It's like, if I were to get married next year and have a child, I'm open to that. If I don't, if I never settle down, I'm okay with that. Like there's a sense of, as we confront these lies and then replace them with truths, there's a nice sense of resolution and peace that I think that we walk away from. And that's if you're being proactive about, why am I going through this? Obviously, some people just run, they buy the sports car. And like my girlfriend said, she goes, I get midlife crisis now. I get why someone would just go run away and buy a car. And like, yeah, maybe that'll fix things. And it doesn't, right? It just becomes one more thing we spent money on. And I had said that to her. I said, I really, like at the end of this transit, I was like, I don't care if I travel. What's one more beach, one more pina colada? What is one more country? Like, it just lost all of its value, because all of a sudden, those things that we thought would fill us, we just looked at them straight in the face and we're like, yeah, it's kind of empty. And the Groundhog Day that I was experiencing, independent of myself and everything that I had accomplished and created, she and other peers of mine were experiencing the same degree of emptiness. Like, I really thought that this would fill that void, and yet I'm staring it right in the face for what it is, and it's quite heavy. Actually, it's not light and fulfilling. It's actually kind of void and empty. So I'm happy to report that, yay, it's over. It was definitely one of the more uncomfortable ones that I've been through. And I'm so grateful that, like, I won't be having another Pluto transit until Pluto gets to about 8 degrees of Aquarius. So that's, I don't even know, like 6 to 9 years away. I'd have to do the math, but it's a ways away. I got some time to just rest with the transformation and kind of reap the rewards of all that I've gained as a result of this. So on that note, if you are in a position in your life where you're like, I don't understand why I'm going through this and the walls of my life are closing in on me, please reach out to me and we can talk about it. You can email me and set up a reading. I would love to talk to you to help you gain some perspective. And again, perspective doesn't change the pain, but it gives you an idea of when it's going to go away, right? Like if we have surgery, we know we're going to get cut open. So we understand where that pain's coming from. It doesn't stop us from having to heal from the wound, but we understand why it's there, and that in a certain amount of time that pain's going to wane. So if you would like my help, please feel free to reach out. We can talk about it. And if you are really looking to make those changes in 2023, my big theme, some other takeaways from this Pluto transit for me, especially as a coach, it's like, how do I want to reframe my work moving forward? Like, is business important? It's important. But the thing that has become more important to me, like as I lost my identification with so many things, what remained was connection, and my need and desire to remain connected with people and to create more connection with others, because I feel as though we are slipping away from each other. And not only just through technology, as it's really starting to take over, we now have Chat GPT that just came out and all these AI things, but also like our inability to communicate in a way that brings us closer. Our habits, how we interact, how we show up, it's kind of bad. And if I hadn't spent so many years just going, okay, I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna lean in anyway, and practicing these skills with people, I would be a lot worse off. But that became a critical thing for me, especially during this time, because I felt so, I had nowhere to lean. I had nothing to lean on. I had nothing to escape to. And so I had to move deeper into the connections that were in front of me. And it has been so enriching to see the fruits of that labor, because I really feel, again, just more honest, more, this word gets used over and over, but just the authenticity behind it. And, I think at our core, we really are craving more connection as a society anymore. So these are some of the things that are valuable to me, right? Or I should say connection has like become like the number one thing that I'm valuing moving forward in my work, and how to help people bridge that gap in a truly intimate way. And to create from that place, right? To create from a space where you feel grounded in who you are, and knowing that like you are kind of the master of your own essence, and then bridging that gap by relating to others in a healthy way, whether it's personal or professional. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video. And again, like, please subscribe if you are into mindfulness and astrology and coaching, because that's my wheelhouse. And yeah, if you want to have a discussion, I'm open to it. And I really, really hope that, this helps someone. Just me rambling on helps someone. So I will be posting more videos moving forward as I jump back into a more structured life again. I really went to the extreme as far as like letting go of structure, and it was an interesting experience. So I hope to hear from y'all at some point, and I hope you have a wonderful day. All right, bye.